Whether new shooter, longtime gun owner, or even police officer or soldier, your handgun needs a Crimson Trace laser sight or light. Get the confidence and reliability you need to protect family, home, and country. Crimson Trace.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, broadcasting nationwide. Have a question? Want to make a comment? Call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. That's 866-825-5486. Or you can send us an email, tom@guntalk.com. Now, here's Tom Gresham.
All righty, sometimes I just get to have fun. And we're going to do that for about half an hour here. We're going to have some real fun. You know what a gun geek I am. You know I love to talk about the intricacies of guns and optics and mounts. And Lord knows I like to talk about ammo and bullets and shooting and all of that. And when I get to do that with a friend and somebody that actually is not just knowledgeable, but more knowledgeable than I am, and I always get to learn something from him, that's really fun. And that's what we're going to do right now. Jeff Hoffman is the president of Black Hills Ammunition, operating out of South Dakota in Black Hills area there. Jeff, how are you?
Hey, Tom. Good to hear you again.
Well, it's good to spend some time with you. I want to give people just a little quick background. I'm looking at your About Us on your website. It says you've been a sworn law enforcement officer since 1979. So you've been a gun geek pretty much a long time, haven't you?
Yep. I think probably age 6 or younger when my grandfather started taking me out shooting.
Age 6. I love it. I love it. Now, I'm going to share something with you. I was with somebody over the last 2 or 3 weeks. We were doing some shooting, and I said, look, let me explain something to you. I put it this way. I said, if you want to find out how good your rifle is, if it is actually accurate, it's going to be real simple. Get Black Hills ammo and shoot it in it, and then you'll find out. Because I said, if it won't shoot with Black Hills, it's not the ammo. It's your rifle. And I can say that because I've been to your place and I've seen how your people make the ammo, and I know the kind of passion they have for that. I mean, every single round that comes out of there is inspected, and you've got pretty much every Special Forces unit, ones we know about and the ones we don't know about, all using your ammo all over the world, don't you?
We've got a lot of satisfied folks that use our stuff, and a lot of it for the reasons you mentioned. We spend some extra time making sure that it works really well and accurate and generally a fit in as many weapons as possible.
Yeah, I was just poking around on your website, having some fun, and I was looking under. You got manufactured ammo, remanufactured. You got the Black Hills Gold, your hunting, your cowboy action, and under new rifle. I clicked on that, and then I was looking at just 223. I mean, not all these other things you load. You load all this stuff. And just under this one category, you had 15 different loads for the 223 Remington, and that doesn't even include some of the stuff that you don't even list that you send out there. And that kind of takes us to where I wanted to talk about a little bit today. It's a season for varmint hunting, long-range shooting, accuracy. For someone who didn't understand this, how do you tell somebody why you have at least 15 different loads for 223? What's the range? What does all this stuff do when you're trying to explain to people this wide variety?
Well, because the performance you get out of a rifle depends a lot on the projectile you're using. For example, with 223, we've got bullets from, say, the 36 grain varmint grenade, which is designed as a very fragile bullet, a frangible bullet that will come apart very easily. It's devastating on things like prairie dogs or ground squirrels. Won't bounce across the prairie. Everything from the size of a ground squirrel to, say, if you wanted to hunt deer in states where it's legal to use a 223 for deer, and South Dakota is one of those, and I've shot a lot of deer with a 223. You get a heavier constructed bullet, which will penetrate deeply and ensure a humane kill. Or if you wanted to shoot long range with a 223, it's a lot of your listeners would be amazed to know the range that you can hit stuff with a bullet like the 77 grain Match King, you can shoot over 1,000 yards with a 223 with very acceptable accuracy.
No kidding. Well, I've been to your range. I think we were shooting 600 yards there, and I know that with your background as, I don't know if you, in law enforcement, if you call it a sniper or a counter sniper, but either way, you're shooting long-range stuff, and you're the guy that does that locally. But I agree. I think most people wouldn't imagine that you could use a 223 effectively at 1,000 yards. It does come to, I mean, there are a lot of things involved, but if you don't have the right bullet, everything else is wasted, isn't it?
Yep, the bullet is a very key part of the ingredient. You have to select the bullet for your weapon and for the task that you're trying to accomplish.
If you would talk for a second, because I've been kind of beating the drum for a while about velocity is great, but for long-range shooting, what you really need is a high ballistic coefficient on your bullet, because the drop you can dial in, the wind is the big guesstimate. How am I doing there? You live out where the wind blows a lot.
You're exactly right, Tom. For long-range shooting, the key thing there, a lot of people think, well, you got to push the bullet as fast as possible to have a flat trajectory. That's one way of getting there, but the better way of getting there, though, is to use a high BC bullet, because that higher BC bullet, it tends to be a heavier bullet, but it's with the higher BC, the ballistic coefficient, which is basically a measure of the slipperiness of the bullet, the aerodynamics of the bullet, how well it retains the velocity. A bullet with a higher BC, even if you started at a more moderate velocity, it doesn't shed that velocity. It retains that velocity, and the BC will win over velocity every time. The BC is what gives you the bullet's ability to buck the wind and resist the drag of the air and drop less over time. As you mentioned, the BC is really critical towards when you're shooting in the wind. And there's one saying that always stuck in my mind, and I don't remember who to attribute this to. They said the amateur is concerned with drop of the bullet. The professional is concerned with wind effect. And that's so true, because the drop is very predictable. Everybody's got laser range finders and ballistic computers, and you can predict the drop. But the wind is a much trickier thing because you get different angles, different wind velocities, and of course it's affected by distance, and the high BC helps you overcome those problems.
It's interesting. You mentioned, kind of went by in a hurry, but you mentioned that the high BC bullet doesn't shed its velocity as quickly. Let me elaborate on that for a second, because if you start a bullet out really, really, really fast, but it slows down quickly, it actually will be affected by the wind more. It's actually let's see if I can phrase this correctly, the amount or the rapidity at which a bullet slows down is the real factor. So that's why this long, slippery, pointed bullet, I'm thinking like Ferrari versus Winnebago here, that's why it holds its velocity and drifts less. It's kind of a physics deal, but the faster a bullet slows down, the more it will be affected by wind.
That's correct. Yep, it's kind of like throwing high-velocity peanuts or throwing marbles. The marble is going to retain its velocity a lot further. That's a really rough layman's comparison, but to give you an idea, that's what we're talking about with BC, something that holds its velocity, it's got good aerodynamics, and it's not as affected by drag.
Well, now, of course, a lot of people are interested in long-range shooting, but they haven't tried it. They've never been somewhere where they could do it. Give folks an idea. I know you use a 308 a good bit or a 223, probably getting a similar wind drift with certain bullets. Out at, say, 400, 500, 600 yards, and you got a nice 15, 20 mile an hour breeze blowing out in South Dakota, how much wind drift are we looking at?
Let's use 500 yards, because out to 500, the 223 and the 308 are both, they're pretty close. You know, with a 10 mile an hour wind, and in sniper school, they teach you to judge the wind and to make a call as no value, full value, half value. And to define those terms, a full value wind is one that's 90 degrees to your path of your bullet. It's having the most effect on your bullet. That's the reason they call it the full value wind.
Okay.
Let's say you were shooting at 500 yards and you had a 10 mile an hour full value wind. 10 mile an hour is noticeable, but it's not like you're standing in a storm. With a 5.56, you could expect about 25 inches of drift from that 10 mile an hour wind. With a 7.62 or a 308, which has a little bit higher BC, you could expect about 20 inches of drift. So fairly comparable, but you'd mentioned a 20 mile an hour wind. Now there you're really getting some drift because the bullet will be blown directly proportional to the velocity of the wind. Meaning a 20 mile an hour wind is going to blow it linear. It's going to blow it twice as far as a 10 mile an hour wind. So you could get 50 inches of drift shooting your even a good high BC bullet like a 77 grain. You could easily get 50 inches of drift in a 20 mile an hour wind, and to be able to hit anything, you have to be able to do the math there. You have to compensate for it, and you have to use good bullets.
We're talking 4 feet of wind drift out there. It is pretty amazing there. Jeff, hold on a second here. I'm going to take a quick break. We're talking with Jeff Hoffman. He's the president of Black Hills Ammunition. If you go to black-hills.com, you can see a lot of the stuff we're talking about there. If you got a question about long-range shooting, by all means, give us a holler, 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk.
Crossbreed Holsters is broadening our product selection to serve more of your concealed carry needs. With products handmade in the USA, like the bedside backup, gun belts, and of course our world-famous Super Tuck and Mini Tuck holsters, we understand what works, and we take pride in providing you with a quality product. At Crossbreed Holsters, we live and breathe concealed carry. We make and sell products that we believe in and products that our customers love. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com.
In the war on terror, fighting crime in the streets, in competition and homes around the world, one name in firearms stands out: Sig Sauer. Our pistols and rifles are renowned for their unfailing performance. This same commitment to excellence can be found in our line of SigTac accessories and the training offered by the Sig Sauer Academy. For unmatched quality, reliability, and innovation when it counts, choose Sig Sauer. Visit sigsauer.com today.
The .45 Auto, also known as the 1911, is the standard other defensive pistols are measured against. No matter what pistol you carry, techniques developed around the 1911 are vital. You know you need training, and you know your concealed carry class definitely was not training. Now Gun Talk presents an exciting DVD, Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. Tiger's unique training style will have you drawing, moving, shooting, and running your gun better, no matter what style pistol you prefer. At ShopGunTalk.com, you can order our DVDs of Tiger's instruction. ShopGunTalk.com also has a 2-DVD set, including Concealed Carry 1. Get both for the information you know you need. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com has DVDs, books, and other essential gear. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
Who will you trust with your guns and valuables? Liberty safes are the best built and most secure safes on the planet. They sell more gun safes than any other brand. It's about trust earned through performance. If your Liberty safe is damaged by fire or attempted break-in, they'll send a new safe right to your home. Protection from thieves and fire. Trust the #1 maker of quality gun safes. LibertySafe.com.
Hi, we're talking with Jeff Hoffman. He's the president of Black Hills Ammunition. Jeff, one of the things I was looking at on your website is you're loading all this different ammo, but you're using bullets from Hornady, Nosler, Lapua, Sierra, Barnes. You'll pretty much use whatever you need to use to make a good load.
We do, and that's one of the keys, I think, to our success. We don't manufacture any bullets or brass or powder or primers. We buy all those things. We buy from whoever we want, which is we choose the best things we can find and then assemble them carefully into our ammunition. So what we do, we're free to cherry pick the best stuff that's out there rather than saying, well, we're stuck with our brand of bullets. So we will look for a hole in our line, something that we need to fill, and we look around and say, what's the best bullet to accomplish that task? And we've got the freedom to go to any of our industry friends, and that's one of our strengths is we concentrate on having friends in the industry. It's way easier to get things done when you have friends. So we look at it, and we can look at it and say, maybe a Sierra bullet would be best here, or maybe one of Hornady's new bullets would be one of the best here. And we can buy those to craft that perfect ammunition.
Looking at, call it the last 20 years of development, I think, I'm kind of curious on your opinion, I think more than anything else, the advancement that has been made in bullet design has helped us as much as anything in terms of both accuracy and terminal ballistics for hunting and, of course, for self-defense.
I agree totally. With hunting and self-defense, the bullet has been the biggest advancement. There's been improvements in how they make brass. There's been improvements in propellant, but the biggest improvements have all been in bullets.
When you're looking for instance, I mean, I know you do some prairie dog shooting out there. You guys have got those. What would be a good, say if I'm going to use a 223, what would be your recommended load for prairie dogs?
Well, to start with, you picked my favorite rifle caliber for prairie dogs, 223s.
Ah.
And the reason for that is it's economical to shoot. There's very little recoil, very little barrel wear. And the recoil is a significant thing because with shooting prairie dogs, what you want to accomplish is to be able to hit that dog a long ways off. And not everybody hits everything with the first shot. Would like to say that. But the nice thing with the 223 is there's so little recoil that even with a high magnification scope, an accomplished shooter is still looking through the scope when the bullet gets there. The recoil hasn't knocked him off of his target. Mm-hmm. So what that means is if he misses, he can see exactly how far he missed, and he can accomplish the second shot much more easily. That's something that's harder to do with a bigger gun like even a 22-250. It takes more skill, more time on the gun. It's just harder to do with the bigger gun. And with the 223, you can do it repeatedly and very reliably. And so I like the 223, and it's economical to shoot. And then once you've settled on the 223, what you really want is you want an efficient bullet. That is, you're balancing your BC and velocity over the range that you expect to shoot dogs. And typically people shoot dogs out to, 400 yards. Sometimes they go further than that, but it's getting pretty challenging once you get past about 400 yards. You can do it, but you really got to know what you're doing. So at those distances, if you pick a pretty fast, easily expanding bullet like a 50 or a 60 grain VMAX bullet, one of the Hornady plastic tip bullets, those are some of my favorites. They're extremely accurate. They hit well. They're very humane bullet. The bullet comes apart with dramatic effect. There's no doubt about whether you hit that dog or not. You can watch him flying 20 feet through the air sometimes when you hit him. We call those Frisbee shots. You hit them and they just go skipping off a long ways, and you know that was a humane hit. That dog is not going anywhere. And
you're also not getting any ricochets with that bullet.
That's right, because generally, most people don't own their own land. You've asked permission to go on some ranch or a farmer's land, and one of his rules is, well, you bet, go on out, have a lot of fun, but don't shoot any of my cows. And he doesn't want bullets bouncing across his prairie. So these light, frangible bullets, the 50 and 60 grain, work real good. If you're in closer, the 36 varmint grenades are real dramatic. They work really good, but of course there you're trading off some of your BC, and it might not be the right bullet for their 400-yard shot.
How much do you shoot? Do you do a lot of the testing? Because you guys have got a great lab there. I know you got people who do that, but do you get over there and actually shoot some?
I shoot a lot. Every load that we develop, I personally test. Now, I'm talking about accuracy testing. We've got a world-class ballistic lab, and they'll come to us for direction. We'll tell them, okay, here's what you need to do. We need this new G-Wiz bullet in the 223. These are the powders that I think would work good. Give it a try, run the pressure and velocities, bring them in so we can look at them. And we'll look at the pressure-velocity ratio, the uniformity, the measured in terms of standard deviation between shots. We'll look at all that. But when we find some good contenders, when we narrow it down, then I'll run out to the range and actually shoot it in a variety of weapons myself. And if it looks good there, then we load up some samples and start sending them off to our industry friends and say, here, shoot this through a variety of guns, tell me what you think. But to answer your question, yes, I shoot a lot, and every load that we develop, I shoot personally, every rifle load.
Yeah, I kind of figured as much. So in the minute or so we got left, what are the hot calibers? What are people talking about? What are they wanting to buy these days?
223 is still real popular. More and more of the rifles are being chambered for 5.56, which it gives you, maybe 150 feet per second in velocity over a 223. And a lot of the capability, the 5.56s tend to have the faster twist barrels that do real well with those heavier high BC bullets that you were talking about. 308 is still real popular. This year at the SHOT Show, I had a lot of people talking to me about 260 for shooting long range. There seems to be a resurgence in interest in the 260.
Well, the 260 is a great long range caliber. 6.5s, of course, are just terrific, all the way across the board. Hey, Jeff, tell you what, I'll make a date. We're going to come out there. We're going to do some more shooting, do a little TV with you, because I just had a ball last time we were out there, okay?
That sounds good. Why don't you try to do it in June? Maybe we can go shoot some of them dogs.
Ooh, I'm liking that. Sounds good. Jeff Hoffman, president of Black Hills Ammunition. Now you know why I like having him on so much. We get to go seriously gun geeky, talk about this stuff. Hey, call me, 866-TALK-GUNS. Open lines.
Covering all aspects of gun ownership every week on this fine radio station. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
All right, back with you, 866-TALK-GUN. Just got a couple of emails. Let's see. Larry says, I wish I could give you a range report on his GT20. It's been raining there forever. I understand. It seems like it's raining all over the world. We got, let's see, got another one. Says he's reading the Weatherby book now. He really likes that. I wrote that a long time ago. It's called Weatherby, the Man, the Gun, the Legend. I co-wrote that with my dad, Gresham. And let's see. Oh, he's waiting for his 2 GT20s. He bought 2 of them. The GT20s are shipping the last batch, I hope, knock on wood. I hope they ship out next week. I think we're there. So we'll get them all out the door. The people who have gotten them seem to like them a lot. I think if you didn't get in an order, I think you might be able to slip it under the wire. There may be a couple of people who cancel their orders, and there may be a couple of guns available. If you're interested, go to Dury'sGuns.com, D-U-R-Y-S, Dury'sGuns.com, and you can check it out. Contact them, just see. I don't know. But at least you could ask. Never hurts to ask. Line 3, Charles is with us out of South Carolina. Hello, Charles, you're on Gun Talk.
Hey, how you doing? I was wondering if it was safe to shoot a slug out of this. I got a Model 88 Maverick Mossberg. I've got a modified choke tube and a extra full choke tube, which I'm sure I don't want to shoot a slug out of it. But what about the modified?
You're probably okay with the modified, but honestly, if it were me, I would probably want to shoot it with a cylinder bore or improved cylinder. Now, and again, let's spell out, we are talking about an old-style Foster slug, not a Sabot, S-A-B-O-T slug, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, because the Sabot slugs will not work in that because they need a rifled barrel. So, but yeah, if you can get an improved cylinder or even a cylinder bore tube in that, I would get that. The other thing is try to find a way to put some sort of sights on that gun if it doesn't have them already. That will help tremendously because just looking down the barrel doesn't do much for you. You gonna be hunting deer?
Probably mostly just target practicing with it. I like to play around with slugs, and I've just always been hesitant and afraid to try to shoot a slug out of it. I didn't want to tear it up.
I don't think you're going to tear it up. I don't think that's going to be an issue. But, you know, all things being equal, I would want a more open choke, but I don't think it's going to be an issue with modified. Now, if you said, I'm going to go out and shoot 200 rounds through it, then I'd say, yeah, spend $30 and get a different choke tube for it. But, you know, if you're going to go out and shoot a dozen rounds or so, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate it, Charles. Thank you. All right. You take care. Nick is in Tulsa on 2. Hey, Nick, what you looking at? You a duck hunter?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I wanted to ask you real quick here. Remington, last year I discovered this hypersonic steel duck load round. It's claiming, and it's 1,700 feet per second as opposed to your regular 1,250 or 1,300, depending on what you're shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, and I read some reviews, and they're saying, oh, wow, this increase in feet per second really closes up the lead that you got to put on your bird. And I went out last year and did some pond jumping and threw the decoys and the whole rigmarole through the whole season, and I decided I'd try them a little bit. I personally, I mean, maybe I was just talking myself into thinking that I really did notice a difference, but my question is, does an increase in feet per second automatically equate to a decrease in your lead on your bird? And it seems logically, well, of course, but I'm just not so sure it's that easy.
No, absolutely. It will certainly reduce it. Now, the real question is it important? That's the other part of it. But yes, for instance, if you were going to shoot a moving target with something moving 1,100 feet per second, and then you're going to shoot it with something moving 4,000 feet per second, you would use less lead. It would get there more quickly. In this case, the hypersonic steel loads are very fast. There's kind of goes back to what I was talking about with Jeff Hoffman. There also is an issue with the faster you start them off, the faster they slow down. And when you get to, say, 40 or 50 yards, while it may have started off 300 or 400 feet per second faster than the other loads, it may be going only 100 feet per second faster than the other loads at distance because it's going to shed the velocity much more quickly than a lower velocity load. So, but yes, certainly at 20, 30 yards, maybe even 40 yards, if you're a good wing shooter, you can absolutely tell the difference.
I see. Well, I really do love that round. It knocks the fire out of you, and Remington sure is proud of them. But before I went ahead and picked me up a whole case for this upcoming season, I wanted to make sure I got your advice on it.
Well, now here's the other question: is what is the distance that you usually are hitting birds? Are you shooting them over decoys? Are you jump shooting or pass shooting? What are you doing?
I rarely jump ponds. I'm a little bit traditionalist. I like to get there before the sun comes up and throw out decoys and hunker down and call them in. It's usually real tight ponds, so the birds kind of helicopter in a little bit. I try to get them to where they have a hard time getting out as fast as they can get down.
Okay, given that description, Nick, as cool as these shells are, I'm not sure you wouldn't be just as well off with another load that doesn't have that velocity, because you're probably shooting inside of 30 or 35 yards, and they're probably not going real fast. Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of benefit out of those. You can save a ton of money. You get some of the other Remington loads, because Remington makes a lot of good duck hunting loads. I would also maybe even consider heavy shot or something like that. If you say, okay, I want to have something for long range, I would go with a heavy shot or tungsten or something along those lines. Have a few of those in my pocket for the occasional goose opportunity. If you're going to be shooting a lot of fast-moving birds screaming by, maybe the hypersonic would help you out. But for what you're describing, you know, here's what I would do. I would get probably 10 rounds and try them on actual hunt. I would not buy a case. See how you like them when you're actually hunting with them. If you say, yeah, that I just love the way it rolls them. They fall with their feet pointing at the sky. More power to you. Good to go. But if that's not the case, then, I would at least try them before I bought a bunch of them, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I see. Yeah, well, with teal season coming up first with those little suckers flying so fast, maybe that'd be the perfect thing to get them dialed in on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's our standard line. It said, if a bunch of teal go blowing past you, you don't get a shot off. You say, don't worry. If the world is round, they'll be back in 2 minutes. 866 Talk Gun. Be back with more Gun Talk.
Accurate, powerful, consistent. At Double Tap Ammunition, we offer 364 loads in 83 calibers that give you exactly what you've been looking for. Try us out at www.doubletapammo.com and use the promo code GUNTALK for 10% off your order.
The world can be a dangerous place. Gear up with the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. Equipping your firearm with laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way. Call 800-442-2406 or visit crimsontrace.com and receive a free copy of our new laser training video, The Laser's Edge. Crimson Trace.
Hi, I'm Tom Gresham. For more than 40 years, I've been watching an environmental disaster in my backyard, and it actually impacts all sportsmen in America. I'm talking about the massive loss of land on the Louisiana coastline. The U.S. Geological Survey said the swamps and marshes of coastal Louisiana are among the nation's most fragile and valuable wetlands. That land is disappearing. The Mississippi River Delta hosts as many as 10 million ducks and geese every winter. These are birds which migrate northward through the states, all the way to Canada. The wetlands of the Delta support some of America's best fresh and saltwater fishing. And here's the deal. The wetlands of the Mississippi River Delta are disappearing at a rate of 1 football field every hour. 1 football field every hour. Gone. We can reconnect the river with its wetlands and restore the Delta, but we need your help. Please visit vanishingparadise.org. That's vanishingparadise.org.
At Double Tap Ammunition, we hand inspect every round that we make, and we use only the best components to give you the best ammunition on the market. Try us out at www.doubletapammo.com and use the promo code GUNTALK for 10% off your order.
Back with you. 866 Talk Gun gets you in here. I'm Tom Gresham. Of course, we try to talk about pretty much anything that's out there. Sometimes we have to touch on politics, and one that was very interesting. A federal judge in Washington, D.C., he shoots down the police objections. I love this headline. Shoots down police objections. All right. Federal judge, district judge, Frederick Scullin Jr., basically, he ruled that D.C. was violating the Constitution by requiring people to show good reason for getting a concealed carry permit. The city said, well, but look, we want to at least be able to keep blocking people from getting guns while we appeal that. The judge came back immediately, which is great because Alan Gura and Ellen Gottlieb said, no. We want you to find them in contempt. They're not doing what you told them to do. You told them they must immediately start issuing these permits. They can't require people to show good reason for exercising a constitutional right. That's crazy talk. And D.C. comes back and says, no, but you don't understand, Judge. We think you're wrong, and we want to be able to keep restricting people's constitutional rights while we appeal. The judge says, up your nose with a rubber hose. No, you're not going to do that. I will find you in contempt. You are going to do this immediately. You do not get a stay on this. You are blocking and restricting people's constitutional rights. You will stop it immediately. Man, need a little bit more of that out there. I'm liking it. Jim is on line 1. He's in Elwood, Nebraska. Hey, Jim, what's up?
Oh, hello. I've called in so many times that your call screener, she knows where I'm from. We just talked. I have always purchased a pistol or a revolver with adjustable sights. the target adjustable sights. I'm looking at a pistol that has tactical sights, the tall fixed sight. Where are those normally, what distance are they normally sighted in at?
Now, are you looking specifically at the Smith & Wesson Core?
Yes,
Okay. My guess is it's probably on at roughly 15 feet, but I don't know exactly.
Oh, really? That close, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's probably so. But the thing is, it is adjustable for windage, up, left and right. So it's drift adjustable. But this is really a pistol that's made. If you're not going to put a red dot on it, there's really no point in buying the Core.
Right.
So if you're going to put a red dot on it, it doesn't matter. All right, well then it doesn't matter what the iron sights are sighted in for, because you're going to use the Core, the red dot sight on there, and not the iron sights.
Okay, you say it doesn't matter, but say you wanted to take the RMR and sight it in at 50 yards. Mm-hmm. You're going to be dropping that dot, that red dot, down. Is it going to be into the front sight?
Probably not.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering.
No, I mean, you're not going to be raising the muzzle that much, I don't believe. So I don't believe that's going to be the case. I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. One thing I can tell you is you're going to be happy with the Core. It's a very nice pistol. And it does have the taller sights. That way you can, quote-unquote, co-witness. You can use the iron sights actually looking through the red dot optic with that, and that'll work for you. But I think you'll like it a lot. But don't worry about the red dot covering up the front sight. That's not going to happen here. Phil is in Detroit, Michigan on line 4. Hey, Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for making me spend even more money. Thinking of being a great enabler.
Look, I should tell people I've known Phil for many, many years. We're in the aviation world together. But then you got hooked on guns, and now we've cost you a bunch of money.
Yeah, I finally got out to shoot my GT20. And, of course, the barbecue gun needed a nice leather barbecue holster to go with it, and I'll send you a picture of that. It came out beautiful. And I realized that I need to upgrade the trigger in my target gun, too, my competition gun.
Wait. By shooting the GT20, you realize that your target gun needs a better trigger?
Yes. After shooting that GT20, dang, this thing is a nice trigger.
Yeah, it is. It's so funny. Everybody says, man, that's a nice trigger. I says, well, I've been saying that for 5 months. I said, this is a fantastic trigger. Now, it's got some take-up, and then once you hit the pressure wall, it just does what it's supposed to do. It's just nice. So what holster did you get?
I had a local guy make a custom leather holster. It's going to be outside the waistband. I decided not to put any kind of thumb brake or retention on it, so they made it a little bit tighter. And it's got a nice little logo embossed on the side of it. It is absolutely gorgeous.
That's great. Sounds wonderful. Send me a picture of that holster, okay?
I will. And shooting it wasn't quite as accurate as I'd like, but it's trying to get used to the gun itself. I'm probably holding it a bit different than I hold my comp gun.
What distance were you shooting? How far were you shooting?
Close. I was only shooting at 15 feet.
Okay. Yeah, I would say try it off of sandbags or a rest just to make sure that the gun is shooting where you want. Because those are adjustable rear sights, you can dial them in, and you want to spend the time getting those dialed in exactly where you want them, off of a rest or something. You can't adjust your sights based on just offhand shooting. Well, I mean, if you're a Max Michel or somebody like that, you could, because they know where they're shooting. But the rest of us, we need to have a rest on that. Well, look, Phil, I appreciate the range report. The GT20 it's doing well. People are really liking it. All right, 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. And, of course, if we can't get you into this next segment, we'll hold you over for the really fun part that we call the after show. So give us a holler. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
Even though today's radio show is winding down, if you're on hold, stay there. Tom will pick your call up during the Gun Talk After Show. It's an on-topic, off-topic free-for-all coming up right after today's broadcast.
I actually had somebody tell me, says, I wish you could do like 3 hours of after show and a half an hour of a regular show. I'm thinking, I don't know if that was a compliment or what that was. Well, I guess what he means is he really likes the after show. If you're not listening to it, by all means, download it. You can go to guntalk.com and you can find it there. You can also, of course, you can just subscribe to the podcast using iTunes or one of the other services out there. Pretty easy. That way, if you miss a show, you can always catch up. Let's see. Where are we, guys? There it is. I want to talk to Ed in Augusta, Georgia. He's on line 3. Ed, you got yourself a Desert Eagle?
I do. Having no trouble with it.
Okay.
But yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I got you. Go ahead. What's the problem?
Well, it seems like about every third, fourth shot, it's jamming. It's either it's not kicking out the shell properly or the casing properly. It's either stovepiping, I guess, standing up, or it's jamming into the barrel.
Okay.
Now I sent this thing back to what I thought the manufacturer was, and he said it shot just fine, or they said it shot just fine. But it seems like I'm still having problems with it.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on here. And I wish we had a different term for it. It's often called limp wristing, but that almost sounds derogatory. It's not really. What's probably happening is that this is a gun that needs a lot of physical resistance, basically to hold the frame steady. And then you've got this huge, weighty slide that has to come all the way back. And when it fires, if you're not resisting it enough and your hand starts moving backwards, it takes some of the speed off of the slide and it can't come all the way back, and so it can't strip a round off, so you end up with a misfeed. There's a technique, and here's what I'd like for you to try. We go out and shoot this, and I want you to get a really, really firm grip. Hold it just as tightly as you physically can, and lean forward. Break your stance at your waist. Lean forward at the waist with your arms locked out, and lean forward until your nose is over your toes. That way, if somebody put a cartridge right on your nose and dropped it, it would hit your toes. So that's a pretty good lean forward. And so I want you to lean forward and put your arms out and lock them out and grab that gun as hard as you can and see if that doesn't fix it. My guess is that you just need to give it some more resistance, and then it's going to work okay for you. Would you do that?
Wow, really? That's great.
Yeah, I think it's going to fix it for you.
This problem for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's going to fix it. Typically, a lot of people, because it's a big, heavy gun, you kind of lean backwards to balance out. It's almost like a cantilever deal. And now the gun's rocking up. The other thing that's going to happen is when you take that grip and you hold it tight and you lean really forward, nose over toes, you're going to find that you control that recoil. That gun's not going to kick nearly as much as you have been experiencing. I think you're going to find that it's actually a pretty sweet shooting gun. It's not a lot of recoil on that. You just could grip it hard, arms out, lock them out, lean forward, and don't have one foot behind the other. Your feet standing kind of adjacent next to each other, about shoulder width apart. It doesn't have to be like a real wide stance, anything goofy like that, but just shoulder width apart, both toes equal, and just leaning into the round. That way, kind of like if somebody were to push on you from the front, you wouldn't rock back and take a step back. But that's what that gun's doing. It's pushing you. All right, everybody, if you can join us for the after show, do so. Give us a holler right now, 866-TALK-GUN. In the meantime, I would like for you to do an interesting experiment. Make it your job to make a stranger smile, or maybe even make a stranger laugh. It's a lot of fun. You'll get a lot out of it. In the meantime, be safe, carry all the time. Take care of your family and yourself.